are back on this episode of the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. You will agree with me that we've been having a very great time with Professor Effiong Johnson of the Department of Theatre Arts and Film Studies at the University of Uyo. He's acquired so much experience going through the best training grounds for the Nigerian theatre and film studies in Nigeria. And he's also impacting students from different parts of Nigeria as a guru in his area of intervention in the theatre. Today we'll continue from where we stopped. Join us on YouTube every Thursday for a fresh edition of the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. Professor Johnson, talk to me.
The kind of students we have now coming to study theatre arts, or any discipline for that matter, are lower in intellectuality than what we used to have.
Explain that.
I'm going to explain that. Okay, in my time in Calabar, for example, one crazy lecturer, Mr. Effiong, would recommend 38 scripts for us to read in a course titled Textual Interpretation of Theatre Arts Studies. 38 scripts across the world on different themes, which we did. And you finish that course, you can take on the world.
Yeah.
Sir, these days, you recommend 5 scripts to students. They look like dead. The students we have now are more fond of their phones than books. NUC conducted a research recently and found out that 65% of Nigerian undergraduate students, in fact with graduate students, spend 65% of their time on phones.
On phone.
On phones. And share the rest of their lives with the remaining 35. That is the truth. So in terms of students' capacity intellectually, I said yesterday in the class that for the past 20 years, I'm yet to come across a student who will ask me a challenging question in the class after my lectures that I will say, please, I don't know the answer, I'll tell you in the next class. You be asking students, ask me questions.
Nobody.
Whereas in my time, like you mentioned, you would challenge lecturers by what you have read preparatory to classes.
Yes.
That's one aspect. See the thesis, even PhD. This next week I'm going for a PhD defense in Calabar. See PhD thesis, let alone BA, that students are writing now. Haba, sir, it is poor in quality. By my experience, though, it's not as if I'm too thorough, but I'm thorough. By my experience, if you have 10 students in the BA class you are supervising, 3, 4 will impress you. The others, you will nearly have to maybe take over the work to do for them.
That's serious.
Across board, BA or MA, PhD. I've been external in many universities. When the project, like I'm expecting 4 PhDs from Calabar today, when the works arrive, sometimes you even wonder whether your colleagues did anything. We call it bleeding. You see the PhD work bleeding because my red ink is everywhere.
Yeah.
It didn't use be like that. And then expressions. English language expressions. Sir, you see a PhD talking. You ask whether I attended the school at the backside of your mother's kitchen. So, it is not the same. I boasted the other day, we have a forum, my classmate of 1983 just created a platform that has assembled almost all of us back. And it's like we were back in the classroom chatting. I challenge my final year student here. I said, do you know that my classmates, the person that made 2-2, low 2-2 in my time is stronger than the first class now? In terms of the volume of knowledge acquired in 4 years, in terms of the number of books he has read that he can cite, in terms of seminar presentations, quality of seminar presentations, in terms of the quality of the BA project, my colleagues who had low 2-2 may be better than first class today.
So
the curriculum has no problem.
So what do you think
A thing is decayed from primary school.
How can we
decayed secondary school? To make matters worse is this idea of abolishing aptitude test. Sir, since aptitude tests were abolished in the Nigerian universities, JAM sent to us people. So in this university, after first year, take statistics, the number of people that has failed to repeat 1 year, to repeat first year, he has tripled. You know why? Because we now receive candidates with flamboyant scores
who can cope,
whom people wrote school set for them and JAM. And they inherited the scores and came for the first time one-on-one in the class. So I finished a test today. Objective, year 1. From the note I gave you, I borrowed the note to set the objective. Today, as you were here, they were bringing the thing to me. Students are scoring 5 over 30. One person even scored 2 over 30. 7 over 30. It's not as if Professor Johnson is tough. I asked the opinion in the class, do I have 5 volunteers who can tell me the truth? And 5 people lifted up their hands. I said, tell me the truth, glorify God, shame the devil. Was this test difficult or simple? All the 5 said, sir, very simple.
And yet people were scoring 2, 5, 7.
2, 5, 7. I told them from 14 over 30 is a failed pass. Failed score by me. And more people failed in a class of approximately 100. That is a reflection of what happens today. I remember the first test in my time. So everybody passed. It's just the degree of pass is varied. But I can't remember anybody who failed. Give assignment now, it is like a burden you are heaping on the shoulders of students. Their own CL, continuous assessment, give it, it's like you are pestering, unduly invading their
privacy.
As if they didn't come to school to study. That's the experience. Once in a while you come across a bright one, but rare. The ratio of those that are bright, that you can rely on, has far reduced, disintegrated by the wobbling system we inherited from secondary and primary schools. That is the situation.
So we need to shape up.
We need to. And see, I am a visiting scholar to Ghana and South Africa. The last I was in South Africa, I I had to assess what second year film students did. In South Africa, the university, 40 students in class are given 40 cameras over there. And the university makes money available for students to hire professionals for their practical work. I come back here tearfully and now have a class of 100 students with 2 or 3 cameras.
So are they going to work?
Where is the ideality in a universal situation? How can we cope with the students there?
Is it that our students don't pay enough fees to go through the system?
That is not the reason,
equipment,
the
or
reason
what is the problem?
Nigeria has always, since independence, marginalized education. This country has never yet approved the minimum budget that education should have for education. We just had a convocation about a month ago. The convocation lecturer came from, he was the Deputy Vice Chancellor Administration from University of Abuja. He said what I'm saying now, verbatim. And we will continue to go down with the poor and impossible budget allocation for education.
It means that our products are not going to be competitive.
How can we? The man in the lecture said, brain drain, those who are leaving the country are even less. Brain drain of those in Nigeria but abandoning education for something else are more. Because do you know that a professor, Prof, in this university, there is no professor that earns up to 500,000 naira a month? Sure. Is that a place? Do you know, as I am now, I don't have the boldness to encourage someone to be a university lecturer,
I know,
given the economic dictates of our time. That is the scenario. So we need a total look. If ASU has not been fighting, and I am an unrepentant ASU unionist. I've been arrested 21 times by SSS as the ASU PRO and ASU chieftain, and I don't mind being arrested again because if ASU should stop the pressure, the federal universities would shut down permanently. That is the scenario.
Because I'm enjoying this so much. I want you to take a look back. Some of the productions that you were able to do, that gave you satisfaction, that you enjoyed, not only as an actor now, but as a director, within and outside the university system.
I'm a director. Directing is one of the areas of specializations.
Right.
To me, the most challenging production I ever did was premiering my work, Not Without Bones, in 1989. It has remained the greatest. What made it the greatest? This is a dramatic presentation of the historical episode of 1929. The popular women's riot of 1929.
Right.
That drama has a cast of 120. 70 rioting women, 30 colonial policemen, and the rest 3 white men, which I had to find. And then mounting 120 people on stage. It was no mean task. And so at that time, I only came back with a rioting, creative thing from Ibadan.
That's right.
When I did this production, I had to take permission from the university to pull down the entrance to the pavilion. That was the biggest place we had in this university then that I could accommodate. I had to uproot the door, widen it to allow for a car to drive on stage. Because the white man, the DO of Opobo, had to drive his Beatles on stage.
That's right.
Mr. Whitman. And then the other two white men, one rode on a bike, the other one on a bicycle. All on that stage. To get 3 white men to play for me was a task beyond theater.
I know.
And then it was a hit. Such a hit that the governor heard about it.
That's right.
I'm not the one who told him. He heard about it and sent a command that we must bring that stage to the government house. I mean, that play. It became a command performance.
The
same
big cast
played there. The government and all the cabinet, they were super excited. They wrote off the entire cost of the production and paid the 120 people good money.
Great.
That was one play I directed.
And that was in 1989.
1989. That was 1989. Fresh. Came back from Masters.
That was not long after Uniuyo was in the old campus.
Yes.
Because I remember that around that time came with the Oni, who was the chancellor.
the Oni was the chancellor then. That was the season.
When it was installed.
Yes.
I was there.
Oh, wonderful.
I was news editor.
He was a chancellor.
Yeah.
The second production I have directed, was directing Shakespeare, The Merchant of Venice in Ghana. The University of Cape Coast. That was in 2012.
Right.
The Vice Chancellor, University of Cape Coast, told me, Professor Johnson, I know you Nigerians are very ambitious, but nobody has done Shakespeare here yet. We don't even have students. Let alone the equipment and the money for it. I told Madam, just give me the permission, I'll do it. She said, I don't want you to start what you can't finish. I said, Madam, all I need is the permission and leave the rest for me. My challenging productions, another one was when I tried my hands on William Shakespeare's. I had always wanted an opportunity to do Shakespeare, to test my directing skills. And I decided to test these skills internationally. Not in Nigeria, but in Ghana. And the Vice Chancellor said, since that university came into existence in 1962, nobody had done Shakespeare. That she wasn't too sure I would succeed because we didn't even have enough students in the department
to mount the play.
And the finances were not there. I told her, don't worry. My PhD was on experimental theater. I could make theater happen. I could do theater in found spaces, including finding money. So she said, well, I know you are a Nigerian. Well, blah, 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 you are ambitious and so on. She reluctantly gave me approval.
Yeah.
So I had to come to Nigeria first thing to find the money. Because I decided I must do Shakespeare in Ghana. So I found the money, then went back, mobilized for cast. At first, when colleagues heard about it, said allow him to crash. But I think I was the only one who knew with God that I wouldn't crash. I did Shakespeare. First of all, the first 3 weeks of the rehearsal, we spent it on watching the movie of The Merchant of Venice. Because by law, by artistic law, whoever does Shakespeare in the world is permitted to adapt the setting, adapt costumes, adapt characters, but you must not tamper with Shakespeare's language.
Yeah.
That's the law. So I needed Ghanaians to get Shakespeare's language. And it was a daily thing, apart from Saturday and Sunday. All my cast, we had to meet I played that video and everyone listened to it and then rehearsed them to pick up the rhythms of that language.
That's right.
It was when I had the semblance of language mastery.
Yes, that you started feeling comfortable.
Yes, that I knew that
you had a play coming.
Is going to long story short.
That you will shock those who are thinking you will fail.
Sir, I did The Merchant of Venice. Even my own creative outlandishness surprised me. I used every facility that I could imagine. The only thing I couldn't do was to drop people from the ceiling. Because I had scenes acted outside the hall that you could hear, and then you'll be straining to hear, then they will come
into the theater.
All the aisles from the back door of the auditorium, where the audience is backing that Woods, scenarios were played from there and brought into the stage. From the sides, within the hall, every space. So the audience
they were turning.
Did like this, or did like this, or stood up to.
I love that. I love that.
3-hour unbroken involvement or engagement.
I love that. That was very, 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 very professional.
Each one told one.
You immersed them.
Yes. Each one told one. Each one told another. So that the 800 capacity hall was continuously filled up for the 3 nights. And the department had to give me an award for that. So it was one of my greatest performances that I directed.
That's right.
The third in that order was when I did my play, was an international thing also, sponsored play, Le Méridien here. That's the best place you can have in this state.
Yes.
Okay. And
Le Méridien in Uyo here.
Yes. And was a sponsored program for an international audience, a lot of white people. There was an international meeting, and someone wanted all those people from America, from Britain, from China, wherever, to have a taste of the cultural media of the Ibibio people.
That's right.
In a drama form.
That's very good.
So I had to stage my work. The original title of the published work is Install the Princess. I make a case for Mrs. Nigeria in that performance.
Okay.
Since 1960, men have failed us at the presidency. Maybe we should try a woman.
That's right.
That's just the concept of Install the Princess.
I like that.
Yeah, but capsuled in a traditional metaphor. And that production has a lot of cultural displays of the people, including Ekpe masquerade and Ekpo masquerade. I had to rehearse not the Ekpo that is fabricated on stage. I had to go to the Ekpo habitat,
Ekpo place.
an Ekpo place to hire Ekpo and rehearse them to suit the sequences of my drama. The same for Ekpe. You know, it was the first time in my knowledge of the cultural thing here to know that Ekpe doesn't play beyond 6 p.m. Traditionally, you don't keep Ekpe masquerade on the road beyond 6 p.m.
Wow.
And here was I playing Ekpe by 10 o'clock in the night.
In the night.
I had to do some things.
A traditional permission.
Yes. You know, the sponsor had said to me, Professor Johnson, we are used to plays in Lagos, we are used to some plays in Ibadan, but we are not used to any, stage plays in Uyo. Are you sure this thing will work? I had signed an agreement. Keep all the money. This play was sponsored with over 2 million. He said, keep all the money. If at the end you don't score by your assessment, you don't give me a minimum of 75% on every element of the production, I refund your money. Was a deal. Keep the money. If the ones I have used, you are not satisfied at a 75% each of the segment, costume, acting, directing, lighting, sound, dance, masquerade, if you score any bit 75 or less than 75, I refund the money.
I was taking serious risk.
It was a serious risk, but I know myself, like Pittman says, I know myself what
You are going to put everything in it.
I put everything. Guess what? The sponsors scored the least segment 80.
Wow.
The least segment 80%. And guess what the least segment was?
Yes.
The setting. Because it wasn't a theater, it was Nigerian, so we had to really make it, squeeze a theater scenario out of a conference hall.
Yeah. But that was a lot of work.
Scored 80.
Even that.
Even that. Costume scored 98. Even need to see the costume. The score was good. I was given out the money plus. So that was another. It ran for 3 hours. Yes. And other things I've done. If like the January we're having a production season here, about 15 productions.
This January.
Yes.
2024.
Yes. We're having, and I am in charge of one of such productions. There is no station that I'm not involved.
Right. My
directing students, both theater and film. I have about 3 film students. For the first time, I'm going to have the first film students to do a documentary. I've had students do horror. I've had students do, most of them feature. But this is the first time I'm going to have one of my students attempt a documentary film production.
Beautiful.
Okay. So, and I've produced well over 20 film students. Some of them have joined the industry, others trying things on their own, others are out of the country, and so on and so forth. But I'm in the theater and will always be. Yes.
I'm happy that you're there. You're producing people for this great, great, great profession and industry.
Yeah.
How do you think our standards have been in the industry? I can say for myself that I think it's improving now.
It is improving now.
But you are the expert that is,
yes.
I'm just an observer.
Yes.
I'm not as involved as you. Yes. So what do you think
of? At the creative level,
yes,
we don't have a problem. We are producing good actors better than where they used to be.
Yes.
It's at the technical level that we have improved, but we are not getting there yet. Yeah, in comparative terms,
yes,
we are really striding greatly, though we haven't got there yet, but we have recorded a lot of improvement. In terms of film scripts, we have recorded a lot of improvement. The scripts are less predictable now.
Yes.
You can watch something that you say, oh, well, I thought, okay, let me watch to the end. Whereas at other times,
no, you knew what was going to happen.
You can walk away and come back and tell the story. Yes. But I
also think the marketing is still weak.
I should think so too, and there's still a lot of piracy.
Yes.
And then a lot of complaints, like my student, a lot of complaints of producers wanting to sleep with people before they're offered a chance to act, and so on and so forth. We hope with time,
I'm sure time will repair all that.
Yes. But we are proud of the industry.
Yes, and I think that maybe if the banks are working the way they should be funding more films, more good films.
We'll get there.
Yes.
The funding should be attractive.
I think that will also engender more intense competition.
Yes.
And that will drive up all these areas of quality that we're talking about.
I think so too. Yeah.
It's been a great pleasure, Professor Effiong Johnson, a personal great pleasure. Not only talking to a theater artist, also somebody in the film industry, somebody who was at Ibadan where I was, somebody who is in Uyo, where I have a claim to, and I'm so glad of the things that you have done, the impact you're making. I'm so proud of you. Thank you very much for coming on the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. Wonderful. Until we see you next time again on YouTube, on the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History, this is Tunde Lanyo saying, continue to like, continue to share, continue to leave comments, and continue to enjoy these experiences that we are bringing you on the Nigerian Theatre Witnesses to History. Bye.